your host, Christina Haskin, and tonight I'm delighted to have a master gardener. His name is Nick Mancini, and he's been doing classes and teaching all throughout around Westport and Fairfield County and other places. And I want to talk about gardening with him and what about how organic is such an important food supply and way to go in the current food system that we have.
Well, since we've been used to so many pesticides and so many toxins in our food, I think this has been a fantastic happening. I had never seen as much energy and as much enthusiasm in America since the 1956 rock and roll. I mean, even Mrs. Obama has helped. I received a little award from the town of Westport, and our senator emailed me to congratulate me. I mean, these are things that years and years ago they would have gone unnoticed. But yet today, people are into health, they want to eat well, and they want to live 100 years in good health.
Right.
And that's why, and I started this way. I started as a child. We had vineyards, and we had gardens and wheat fields. We had donkeys, horses. Well, not horses. Horses were for the rich people. Mules and cows and sheep and chickens and bees and all kinds of things. So now everybody is rediscovering the 1930s, 1940s where I grew up, and they say, wow, this is great. And some people go as far as say, well, I'm buying chickens because I'm going to put chickens in my garden to take care of the pests. And I said, no, 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 no. You don't put chickens in your garden because they'll take care of your food. Well, sure, they peck.
Right. Well, you know, it's with the fast food and everything. It's and the new information of how bad it is for you has really pushed everybody to start wondering. And also that pesticides can cause disease and are not good, or they're a toxin basically for the bugs, and they're a toxin for the humans as well. Tell me a little bit about how, when you grew up in Italy, why you chose organic gardening at this stage in your life, and how it's brought you back to your childhood.
We always did organic gardening. And I remember when DDT first came out, and my grandfather was telling one of his friends, oh, now the world is going to be better. And people would come with these machines, these sprayers, and they would spray DDT in our kitchens. And we had water in pots.
Italy,
Yes, water in pots without covering. And we saw the flies go zzz. And my grandfather said, oh, what a wonderful idea. And then after a while, they didn't see any birds anymore. And people began to say, well, these hunters, they're lousy people. They shoot all the birds. And this man said, well, listen, it's not the hunters that are killing the birds, it's what we use. And they said, oh, forget about it. You don't understand what you're talking about. Oh, this fellow was a college person. He knew exactly what he was talking about, because he said, look, he said, we don't eat falcons. So if you shoot a falcon, you wouldn't shoot a falcon because you only shoot what you eat. And people began to think that the man was strange. And eventually, he was right.
Well, before they invented the modern pesticides, I mean, I think in your book, you have a wonderful book about organic gardening.
Yes.
And on your blog, which I took a look at, you talk about how you can naturally use natural methods and natural horticultural oils to scare the pests away, and yet it doesn't damage the bees, the environment, and doesn't land on the actual produce.
First, I believe in collecting seeds, because when you collect seeds from your own plants, the seed have already been accustomed to the soil of your garden. So having healthy plants means that they're less likely to be attacked by fungus and diseases. So if you have a healthy plant, that's what you do. then you have to use less of a pesticide. What I use is I use pyrethrum. I grow my own daisies because pyrethrum is part of mums. It's a little red, white daisy. So you take the yellow center, you put it in water, and you spray that. Or else you concoct like 1/3 pepper, hot pepper, 1/3 onions, and the other third garlic. You leave it for 3 or 4 days, and I call it Mr. D's potion because an old man told me how to do it, so that's what I do. And for fungicide, I use copper because that's what we used to use, because after my father, after we sprayed our vineyards with copper or a Bordeaux mixture, my grandfather always said, dilute it in half and spray your tomatoes and potatoes so you don't get the late blight. So 5, 6 years ago when we had the late blight, I didn't have any late blight because I inoculate my plants with this sulfur.
And you're,
with this copper.
You're using your knowledge to spread the word by teaching classes. And can you tell us a little bit about how you get involved in the community and spread this knowledge?
I teach at Norwalk Community College. I also teach at the Garden Education Center of Greenwich. I do work for NOFA. I've been, a couple weeks ago, I did the Connecticut Flower Show. I have my own little workshop in Westport. I do lots of libraries. In fact, I have a couple of libraries coming up. I do a lot of all kinds of things that people call me up. In fact, I'm doing Earth Day in Fairfield. I'm doing Wellfest in Norwalk, and then I have the Monroe Library. Then I have Darien Library, Norwalk, and I go all over the place.
And how does someone? I'm not a gardener, so I see the need for, especially with the onset of all this GMO proliferation, yes, and not knowing what you're getting in the supermarket, of learning how to make vegetables just in case. Well, there's nothing. And I want to start like with the small seed in my house, exactly, at the windowsill. So,
and that's what you do.
Yeah.
It's very simple to do. It's one of these things that, I mean, if people did it thousands of years ago and being illiterate, I mean, we could do it just like that. One of my students just emailed me today saying, at the class tomorrow night, he said, can I bring one of my fertilizers to see if that's what you like? And I said, of course. See, that's what I want to share, because say now that a fertilizer, they call it organic fertilizer, and the fertilizer had, let's say, poultry leftovers. And you know that the poultry are fed chemically, and they really take a heck of an abuse from people. And the same thing with cows. I mean, if a cow is not fed organically, the droppings will not be organic. So that's why I do organic vegan. And in a way, if you don't do organic vegan, then you're not really doing organic, unless you have your cow or your horse.
Even if it's grass-fed? Oh.
Well, if it's, unless.
Oh,
see,
okay.
Unless you have your own cow and you know what you feed it.
Oh, your own cow grass-fed.
Well, sure, I mean, of course. See, because look at all the antibiotics they use and steroids and hormones and things like that. So that's what I tell people. Try not to use these products unless you know that the cow is, or the horse has been fed, grass-fed or organically.
As far as seed goes, are you very particular about the seed that you get? That is.
Yes, I am super.
Okay.
Yes. First, I do not like to accept seeds from people, because a seed has to be, cannot be cross-pollinated. And many people that just grow, let's say a carrot, they let it go to seed, and they have a Queen's Anne's lace 30 feet away. Well, it's the same family. So it's like mating a horse and a donkey, and you get a mule. See, that's what, And what I do is I only buy for very few companies and organic companies, only heirlooms. And what I do is I plant my own plant and chuck the packet away or give it away. And then I collect seeds from my own. So that way I will have the seeds that have been already grown in my soil.
Oh, from the actual plant.
Yes,
so
sure.
after the plant, when it sheds its seeds,
yes.
you catch them. Yeah.
You get the seeds from the plant, so that way it's your own plant, and then you can start from there.
Yeah, I did notice that on your blog that you have a very specific recipe of how to separate those seeds and protect them and get them ready for the next planting.
Well, sure. You see now, let's say that you have a kohlrabi and a kale over here, and you want seed. So what you have to do is you have to, well, first you have to know that they are insect pollinated. So if they're insect pollinated, then what you do is one day you cover one with a tulle, a bridal veil, and let the insects pollinate this plant. Then you get up early in the morning the following day and do the same to that plant. So you put this here, over here, or new one. So the insects will pollinate this plant, and you keep on doing that for as long as the plant flowers.
Wow.
Otherwise, you're going to have a cross between a kale and a kohlrabi.
Well, that's kind of what the worry with the farmers who the GMOs are planted next in a few fields, and then the wind blows the pollen and so forth.
Well, yes, but
it
first
gets
do that. Yes.
contaminated.
Well, that's a problem. See, that's a problem, and that's why sometimes I only grow one plant per year of the seed that I want to take. So that way I know it's 100% heirloom.
And what about the soil? I mean, the soil is obviously in sunshine, but soil is important as far as how do people know where to get good soil, or how do they know if it's good soil?
Well, this has been a problem.
Yeah.
This has been a very, very big problem because I had a student from Fairfield in one of the Fairfield continuing education classes, and I told him, I said, have you soil tested? Because he said the soil smelled a little bit. So I said, well, have you had it tested? I said, no, it just came last week. So I said, before you plant anything, have it tested, send it to UConn or wherever you want. And so it came back with a lead content over 400.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and he said, can I do anything with that? I says, 400, it's the limit. And if it smells, especially, he brought it in and the thing really smelled. I said, if I were you, I would have that taken away, carted away, or whatever they want to do with it.
Yeah.
Yes. Because the government tells you 400 is okay, but I don't like, it's too high for me.
And what about the nutrients in the soil? Some of it's depleted, or how do you know?
The nutrients in the soil, what you do is, well, first you have to have a pH test. See, if you have a pH test, what happens with the pH test is it tells you how high or low the pH of the soil. If you grow vegetables, as long as you start from 6 to 7, it's a slightly acidic because it goes from 0 to 14. So from 6 to 7, slightly acidic.
Like
so
for people, yeah.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. I said, I want you to look at a plant and treat a plant just like you treat your husband, your child, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or whatever. See, because now, if the soil, let's say, is 5.5, and the tomato likes it at 7, well, the tomato is not going to be very, very good because it will not be able to extract the nutrients from the soil. See, it's like many, many times when you put an evergreen next to your house, and the concrete and the lime in the concrete that's in the foundation leaches over, and it makes it alkaline.